red, blue, purple light. Friends, red, blue, purple light. Friends, facts, red, blue, purple light. Friends, red and blue, purple light. Friends, facts, you can get to know the ledger, sacrilegious Sunday to melanin Monday. You can get to know the ledger, my love. Just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, the clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road, you better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I open my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we stacking up these C notes. Facts, facts, yeah, we gon' put this shit on our backs. Facts, facts, we in your city, pull up where we at. Facts, facts, peace, love and light. Peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light. To the family. Peace, love and light. To the family.
These days and time, black man, is going to be the time that you have been waiting for. You came here for a reason. Whatever pressure, whatever adversity, whatever the fuck you feel, I don't know what you feel, but whatever you may be feeling is going to push you, and it's going to provoke you, and it's either going to make you or break you, similar to how pressure busts pipes or the shit makes diamonds.
Family, yours, peace to the family, peace to you and yours. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Know the Ledger 444. You are now rocking with the best, yes, and I am joined by the gods, the legends, none other than Blue Pillar 44, B Dell 1014, Al Kibalon 44 in the building. Peace to the family.
Peace, peace, peace.
Peace, peace.
Peace to the family. Greetings, man. How's everybody doing first and foremost?
Amazing.
Doing amazing. Great.
Beautiful.
Absolutely amazing.
That's great to hear, man. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You know, sun is shining. It's very warm in the ATL. You know what I'm talking about? We got global warming over here. And how is it where y'all are at? I know y'all in a different region.
Well, it's about 60s. It's in the 60s right now.
See, yeah, me and B Dell, we in the same state. You know,
Yeah.
B Dell is more southern though, so I'm sitting at about 50 right now.
Mhm.
Like 10 degrees off of where B Dell's at. But yeah, it's kind of, you know, it's a little brisk. It's not too crazy.
I mean, in February, a little bit of 50 degrees, 60 or 70 where we at. You can't complain.
It was so chill. It was a polar vortex. If we remember correctly, the whole country or a large portion of it was under like an advisory, a weather advisory, just a few days ago. So there's much cause for celebration. It's a beautiful break of the weather. You know, we're turning that corner, moving into the thawing out, you know, leaving these quote unquote winter seasons, the acronym of which is Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces.
Yes.
So the sun is emerging out of its murky water grave. And that you know, if I could briefly speak about, you know, I guess we'll get started, then I'll hatch that conversation on at some point.
Nah, we already got
It's a
started.
direct appeal to my brother Kibalon 44, because he used to do those amazing you know, God body challenges. And I want to share with you, like when I attained the name Blue Pill, it was in the year 2007. I had got a skit bit on February 21st, which is the observation of Malcolm X transition, I normally treat that day like a holiday. I don't even go outside. I just observe, you know what I'm saying? But that day I was outside and I was doing something I was supposed to do. And the way that the universe checked me, I got into something with, you know what I mean, a policy officer.
Mm.
And they ran the government. I had a warrant out of nowhere. I had no idea, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, it sent me through the system, went to Rikers Island. They sent me to a place called Valhalla in Westchester. Lo and behold, I get in the unit. I'm in bed 7 and bed 16 is Malcolm X's grandson. I was fast. So I knew at that point I was there on assignment. Because I'm just thinking about his grandfather the whole time. And then I'm like, what's the coincidence? He just came home from doing the bid for unaliving his grandmother. And they violated him the very first time he went to parole. Like he was 5 minutes late, he got violated. So I'm like, bro, you know what I mean? I dialogued with him for about 2.5 hours one day, told him everything that I could possibly tell him to the point where I was shaking. I just was pouring my whole spirit into this young man because he was lost. He was on his gangbanging. He was a blood superior, and he really was believing. You know what I'm saying? He was believing his own lies, and I had to bust his bubble and be like, you're not a G, right? You need to cut that out. That's not what you're here for." You know, I explained to him what his grandfather was about because he didn't know. He said that his family sheltered him from a background history of who his grandfather was to protect him because he fulfilled the prophecy of the seventh seed. He was the seventh son. And I was like, man, I need to tell you what I know then. You know, after I had poured into this young man, you know, like a day after that, they called me, see the judge, and the judge let me go. So I really knew that that was my reason, you feel me, for being there in that environment. And I had worked out from that period of time I was in from February 21st, I think, to March 28th. And I just went on a super dedicated workout routine, like dumbing out 2 hours every day. And the trajectory, the what I was able to gain in that short amount of time. Now I don't know if it worked just specifically for me and my phenotype, but I had felt like I coincided myself with the trajectory of the sun coming out of his murky grave. And that struggle and effort that the sun needs to get back to that trajectory to get to its highest station in August and Leo, if you hatch yourself to that, you know what I'm saying? You're going through some pretty extraordinary breakthrough energy. And then the rest of the year, you just condition this bubble that you have created by hatching yourself onto the trajectory of the sun, getting back in position to do what sons do, to do what kings do, to do what leadership does. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely advocate, you know, people that are on their physical fitness. And I see it, the gym is getting more packed now. It's new faces in there, and people look like they're determined to want to try something out. Like you can see it on their face. They're not all the way there yet. They're making their mind up, and I see this shit, and I'm like, yeah, the season is changing, and people is throwing out, and they're coming out, and they're tapping in. And I'm one who wholeheartedly believes that we're anatomically connected, you know what I'm saying, and tethered to the quote unquote sun. And the sun is subordinate to us. We are older than the sun. The water in our bodies older. No disrespect to the father, but you know the father is the son. If you know that you're the one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big reason too why, you know, I'm always in the gym or working out. Like Blue said, you know, biologically we're naturally tethered to the sun. You know, and being able to build up the DHA in the body, which is responsible for the voltage, you know, that's concentrated in every cell membrane. And being able to even acquiesce to the mythology of the sun by following the cycles of the sun, you naturally tether to that, you know, mythology.
Right.
So, you know, putting your body through that level of shock, instantaneously you build up the brain. You know, I've always referenced the BDNF, which is the brain derived neurotrophic factors.
Yes.
That takes the brain through a process of neuroplasticity. So for me, working out is deeper than just the vain aspect of looking physically fit, but on electromagnetic basis, as Blue does as well. And I know B Dell's been in the gym too, being able to naturally tether to these cosmic celestial bodies, we do it, by default. But like Blue said as well, we hold dominion over the sun. We got to understand and recognize that, because as our ancestors did, by dance or through ritual, they would be able to acquiesce to a level of information, because they understood solar flares is what initiate what you call Z pinches. And a Z pinch is when a magnetic field develops around the ionosphere, and because that magnetic field develops around the ionosphere, it generates an electrical current. So that magnetic field pinches on the ionosphere, and then begins to synthesize ions. So through the acquiescence of dancing, to be able to resonate at a higher frequency, to acquiesce to this information that's coming through, not only were they able to be privy to the information coming through via the solar flares through dancing, but they were able to clock the specific geometry of those charges, which is plasma. What a lot of Europeans call the squatter man. Or they called, I think in Dogon, they wore the Hanukkah masks. I can't remember what they're called, but they look
Yeah.
like the Freemasonry
Yeah.
symbols of when you're in distress.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right.
Yeah. So with that being said, yeah, working out for me is very key. So it's deeper than just a physical aspect.
Hmm. And plus, during this time period, and I'm glad, Blue Pill, you demonstrate that on all the great majority of your multimedia platforms, because of
Mhm.
all throughout, a lot of our teachers in the past, we really didn't see them working out as much. So it's good, what I'm saying, to demonstrate the balance,
Yes.
being able to demonstrate the information while being in alignment of building up your physiology, because you got to be a microcosm of what's going on a celestial level, because the
Right.
planet is resetting. So we got to reset as well. We got to tap into the energetic frequency of the soul in order to reach our higher self. So
Yeah.
that's why I was talking about your Zohar body. You got to unlock that scroll of all, get them chakras in alignment, because that's why you're having these planetary parades. So these planetary alignments that we having on in February 28th, we got to be in alignment as well.
That's right.
Let's let's take let's venture into that territory. I'm glad that you brought that up, Bedell. I want to be proactive with our audience. We're gonna drop a lot of jewels tonight. Um, let's start it off with preparation, right? Let's start it off with programming the subconscious of the listeners to the alignment that is about to take place, the parade of the planets and whatnot. What let's get a little bit of background on that, and please let's just get into the esoteric and the occult implications of the alignment, and what some of us in the audience could do to tap into that energy, harness it, and then just alchemize it into something that could be beneficial to our because I wanted to add on as well. We are in the dark night of the soul. We're in hibernation season. Winter depression is real. The groundhog just popped out. Some of us are in alignment with nature as the nectars and whatnot. So we're not necessarily, in our extroverted body right now. We're not outside like that. We're more so inside, reserving energy, preserving energy, kind of like breaking, coming out of these shells and whatnot. So how can we use that alignment to push us into spring forward in the equinox?
Well, but we was just pretty much touching on a key factor is building up the body, because in essence, of course, when you build the body physically up, you're developing a more coherent magnetic field. And when you, of course,
Yes.
reference a magnetic field, you're talking about your mind. So the idea is that with a more coherent magnetic field, you're loading more stress in the medium via the counter rotation of the field itself. So when I say loading more stress in the field predicated on a more coherent magnetic field, your magnetic field of your mind spins, and it has a counter rotation, centrifugal and centripetal, meaning it spins counterclockwise and clockwise. So it's equivalent to like if you think about, you know, a soda can, like, and you take both hands and you ring it, you ring the soda can. You have two counter rotations,
Right.
which initially sets up a spiral, you know, which is actually the geometry of time. Reason why I've always said time flies when you're having fun, because your heart takes on that same vorticular physics by way of a spiral. So the faster the magnetic field spins by building up the physical body, you're loading more stress in the medium, which is initiating torsion. And the geometry of a torsion is a twist, it's a turning, it's a spiraling. So in order to generate, you know, something from nothing, you know, it's all in reference to building up the field, the mind, via electrifying the body through working out. Meditation is a very prominent feature in it by going within the body. You know, I've always advocated, of course, you know, going outside and making sure you're getting those charges from the center of the earth via negative ions. And you know, I've also spoke about too, making sure you're going through your regular life day to day with a specific law of rhythm. So order, you know, order and symmetry, you know, something as simple as lining your shoes up by the door, you know, nice and neat, categorically putting your clothes in a closet in a
Right.
certain specific color sequence, making sure there's specific order. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about a level of balance within your daily affairs that a lot of people have a struggle doing, because of course we're caught up with this Gregorian timeline where a lot of us have jobs, a lot of us are, you know, are thrown off by a lot of different distractions, but it's all predicated on making sure that you're ordering and organizing your day in a specific sequence in order to naturally, you know, abide by the laws of nature, which is cosmic laws. So
Right.
working out, meditation, organizing your day-to-day routines, and making sure you're spending time in nature.
You mentioned rhythm. What about the sacred dance? What about those that like to move and dance on the daily?
Oh, that's powerful. Yeah. Like I said, you know, when you're at a heightened frequency, inspiration is light. So when you're inspired to dance, you know, that's a specific rhythm. And like I said, when you're in an excited state, your magnetic field is spinning faster and faster, which means you're uploading more stress in the medium. And when I say medium, I'm talking about counter space. So you're developing a level of torsion, which is a spiraling. So not only is time going to seem like it's going quicker, but evidence of that time going quicker is predicated on the fact that you're bringing something out of nothing. You see,
Right.
so it's a level of basically a spiraling into the physical reality, and that spiraling collects inertia, which is energy, and eventually it crystallizes into a reality that you deem fit, predicated on moving in a specific rhythm, which is, you know, whether it's dance or whether it's, like I said, moving through your day to, you know, your day-to-day affairs with a certain order. So dancing is key. Absolutely.
Yep, dancing, balance, order is key. I tell people all the time that, you know, everything in the universe moves on a logistical order. So you're supposed to be a emulation of that. Everything has an energetic boundary to it. So anytime you have boundary order, it's basically the precursor to righteousness. So it's one of those things where, like, I tell people, your sacred energetic space is an emulation of what's going on with you mentally and physically. So if your room is a mess, your life is a mess. If your car is a mess, your life is a mess. All these things is basically because you're out of balance, you're out of sequence, you're out of the circadian rhythm of the planet, so you're not harmonizing with the energies. So it's one of those things where you have to tap into the four elements of the soul, which is thinking, reasoning, understanding, and willpower. So you got to have that willpower in order to do something constructive with your everyday life, in order for you to keep that sequence of balance going on in your life.
Right. And that daily discipline is what I engage in, you know, when I go to the gym early in the morning.
Mm.
The stress that he's speaking about, that formulates in the form of weights. You know, I normally get under weights that would be the most that I have done leading up to that point in time, and I will challenge myself to see if it's there or not. Once I have developed that it's there through, like you said, methodical breathing. So my breathing pattern, the way I work my diaphragm, it looks the same as you're speaking about, with the different forces. And the disc that I form is at the navel, so it opens up like a UFO. If you can visualize it, You know what I'm saying? So, like when they do those things where they pump the air like
Right.
that, that's how I'm utilizing the diaphragm. You
Mm.
feel me? And all of this is taking place under stress of weights. But I'm proving to myself that I'm not lifting the weight. I'm breathing through it.
Mm.
Mm.
So this is all a testament to the power of breath. Once I get out of that situation, my serotonin is through the roof. So the access to downloads that I have after I have accomplished a death-defying feat, I'm at the front of the line when the sun comes out because I already did my due diligence. I put the body under stress. I've created piezoelectricity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I have duped myself into a dopamine overflow
Mm-hmm.
because of the way that I've challenged myself, but utilize breathing to do it. So I'm not leaving the gym with less energy. I'm leaving the gym with all the energy.
Facts.
And
Right.
then by the time the sun comes up, and if I'm meditating, I'm grounding, meditating, and the sun comes up, then I got the sun on the yo-yo. You
Mm.
know what
Right.
I'm saying? And my
Right.
downloads through the day is extraordinary
Mm.
and exponential, and I have the best pick of the litter.
Mm.
Especially if I'm being intentional with those downloads, like if I'm taking this information and converting it, if I'm going live and sharing it, you know what I'm saying? If I'm turning it into a form of art, whether I'm freestyling with it or writing spoken, all of these things, you're capturing lightning bolts and you're reconverting that energy into something that, yeah, if you capture a lightning bolt and transfer that pen into a lightning pen, hey,
Right.
those are the
Lightning in the
results that you're
bottle.
gonna have here on this plane and dimension. You're gonna be cutting through things like how they used to do in Voltron.
Facts.
And that's the beauty we have. I'm saying as vehicles, as vessels, as melanated entities moving into solar cycle 25. I just want us to be so excited and so anticipating individual meditation, collective meditations, large swaths of group meditations. We're gonna need to really test ourselves and to see, who and what we are. Are we all who and what we say that we are? We need to know right now.
Yeah.
Um,
That'll be
Because
proactive.
once we know and it's over convention and our cups start running over and other people are able to tap into the frequency of assurance for themselves, then we become unstoppable.
Mm.
we
And
just had a gathering February the
Hey,
9th in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm.
Um, and it was about 1,000 of us who were on similar frequencies, vibrating at similar frequencies.
mm-hmm,
And it's even been said by the good brother Q Reeves that we are the mutants,
Mm.
right? So theoretically, it was a gathering of the mutants and whatnot. And so I want to know, being that you brought up the aspect of the gathering, what is your overall experience, both you, Bdell, Blue
Mm.
Pill, and you as well, Al Kibalon, who might not have been there in physical form, but you were there in spirit. Like, what is your overall assessment a few weeks later, as to, what was the impact that it had on your energy field?
It was a lot of energy there. It's one of those things where when you get an amalgamation of people like that together,
Yeah,
our thoughts and our perceptions and the stuff that we do, as far as like the cosmic convergence, our thoughts leave an energetic imprint on the universe.
facts.
So it's one of those things we're manipulating the ethers when we conform and combine together and when we have these events or whatever. So it's one of those things where the energy and the intensity was really high, and it's basically going to embark upon a different aspect of creativity. So it's one of those things where it's really good to see like-minded people to tap into the same energy, especially during the time period when they had the Super Bowl. It's one of those things you got to reverse the engineering as far as the dark incantations that they're propagating, as far as
Right.
their sonic secrets and stuff like that. So anytime they do an event, we should have a positive aspect, the light, in order to reverse the polarity of everything that they basically trying to do to manipulate the simulation.
And that is exactly what we did, good brother. We intentionally set it up to whereas we started out on Saturday with the family, with 1,000 of us to charge our batteries to form Voltron, to Wonder Twin activate. Then the next day, for the Super Bowl, we decide, we made sure that we gathered with the family of like mind and came together collectively at the bookstore and watched the Super Bowl because we knew it was going to give what it was supposed to give. This Super Bowl being a historic Super Bowl in a world where attention is everything, and what you pay attention to, that's where you collapse the wave. This Super Bowl broke records because it was the most observed, right? And it had all of the pieces in alignment with President Trump being the last piece of the ritual. He put himself there. They charged it up with all of the death rituals of children and the airplane crashes and whatnot. This one was the one. And me and Blue said, yeah, we're going to harness that energy. And then we're going to take that energy on the road down the highway, right? Not in the air, because you said don't hit the airwaves. You said hit the road. So we Blue hit the airwaves and we hit the road to complete the cipher.
And I got the message
Blue,
after the fact. It's like,
Blue was like, I got the memo when I landed.
come on, man. This
Right. So we had to cover all bases, Blue.
I
On
had to
some
see
BA
it.
Baraka shit. We had to
I
cover
had to
all
see the
bases.
energy in them airports. I had to really sniff and smell it out because I pass through airports a lot, and I'll be picking up a lot of shit. So this time the energy was totally different.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Feel
Mm.
me? So we went down to New Orleans the day after the demonstration by Kendrick and whatnot. We landed there. We did a lecture at a spot called Itel Garden, right? That is right under the bridge that they did, the highway that they used to split, that one of the many highways that they used as a, weapon of mass destruction to destroy our communities and whatnot. And me and Blue were able to tap into that ancestral energy that is in New Orleans. We went to Congo Square. It was beautiful. So it's like you said, B Dale, we have to take advantage of all of these gatherings, all of these quote unquote rituals. The new era of decoders is not to sit back and point to something and give it more energy and put fear on it. It's to identify it, demystify it, and reverse engineer it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say too. Me and Bidell was talking offline. Like me and him, definitely we agree with making more of an approach to make things in person. You know what I'm saying? So even him and I were talking about coming down to Atlanta and doing some work.
Right.
Like I said, because we reside in the same spot. You know what I'm saying? In reference to a state. So
Right.
just veggie backing over what the question that Red had proposed. Melanin has a very unique relationship with ultraviolet light.
Mm-hmm.
And also for those who are talking about getting in sync and into an alignment, I've always referenced sun gazing, but more importantly, you want to make sure that you do it early in the morning to get that UVA. And I referenced DHA earlier. DHA is concentrated in the eyes the most because you're dealing with the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the like the internal clock, but it's the main clock. That governs all the internal clocks in the body. Whether you're talking about your liver clock, whether you're talking about your lung clock, your heart clock. So you have to have that clock
Mm.
uh, going or spinning or working the fastest in order to be in sync. In reference to the body. So what UV light does is it reinforces the power that the suprachiasmatic nucleus has in reference to making sure that it manages and obtains a level of intensity in order to be the highest form of clock that resonates in the body, so that all the other clocks in the internal body are resonating at their proper frequency.
Mm.
So
Master clocks.
master clocks,
And it's
exactly.
attuned through that light that reaches the back of the eye, between, let's say, the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
red UV.
Exactly.
It
And
Exactly.
produces, I think at that time it produces B12.
Mm-hmm.
The sun does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, for those wanting to get in sync again, like, the UVA is what sets the body up to prepare for the melatonin to be produced at nighttime and adequate amount of sleep, because our body is of course on a circadian rhythm. So a lot of us work third shift, night shift. We work, seconds. We're up all night, sleep during the day, which again resets the clocks in order to get them off of sync. But in order to get into a proper circadian rhythm, the idea is to allow the body to go to sleep at night, so the melatonin can literally put the body under more of like a what do you call it when you go up under when you're in surgery?
Anesthesia,
Anesthesia,
unconsciousness,
right? Anesthesia,
repair.
Right.
right? So the
Because
melatonin begins to repair the body and the mitochondria. So that's a key factor in what we're talking about. And also too, with all of us gathering in one spot again, there's a guy named Alexander Gurwitch, that spoke about mitogenic radiation, and
Mm.
that's dealing with cells having the capacity to emit a low level of UV light. So when we're talking about like the phantom effect via the DNA, that gathering that everybody was at in Atlanta February 9th, those electromagnetic signatures are still there and they're still communicating with each other.
Fact.
Just because the physical body has been removed, there's still an imprint in the medium where those signatures are embedded and there's communication still going on, even with us still in our present moment doing whatever we're doing. That gathering is still taking place on
Facts.
a
Right.
more
that,
etheric level, so that's
that
why it's important in the present moment while you're there to maintain a certain frequency, because our cells do emit UV light, which actually initiates what you call apoptosis, and apoptosis is cellular suicide. So basically it's cells that are dormant in the body, because UV light is what initiates cell division. So if you don't have cell division going on in the body, you don't have proteins continuing to unfold and new information coming to the surface. So
yo,
thus, you gather cancer, you get disease and things of that nature. So, being able to maintain not only a physical body by way of electromagnetism, but continuing to come together in these gatherings. Like I said, the minute we step out of the building, we're still gathering, on a more etheric level, because again, we imprint our electromagnetic signatures in those spaces. So,
absolutely.
Facts.
We are etherically entangled. You know what I'm saying? We are etherically entangled, and what I'm experiencing, whoever's entangled to me has the ability to experience that as well, or at least have access to that experience. You know what I'm saying? So it was so important that we answered the calling and were able to congregate and coalesce during that particular pocket of time that was highly ritualistic, as has been laid out. But again, once you counter the measure, you can absorb the benefits of said ritual because you have a superior claim. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And those melanated bodies getting together intentionally, and then they're being stimulated mentally. You feel me? It wasn't they didn't come out and pop out to have a low level conversation. They came out with the intentions to hear, and so they created a capacity, right, to receive. They came with open hands and an open mind and open hearts. You know what I'm saying? Past a particular time as well. Like you said, this operated during those melatonin hours,
Mm.
those
Yep.
intentional hours.
Mhm.
You feel me? It took a lot of dedication. People would be cutting the rug during those times on a Saturday. These
Right.
people were getting high level information and they
Right.
were interacting and they wanted more. So that's another thing, like you said, to leave and the interaction still takes place. People left full, but they wanted more.
Mhm.
I had the opportunity to feed people, so I also know even with the food, they left full, but they wanted more. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing that I got on the stage and I was able to share and connect with the people on the stage. And y'all seen I was buzzing. I mean, I was helicopter propellers after that. Like the energy that you receive from exchanging, with the people, feeding them what you have to offer, but also being fed by the reception of that entanglement. Yeah, that was next level. You feel me? That was next level. And then the next day, being able to see again the careful, methodical, ceremonial ritual that was put on during the halftime, and knowing that we stand in that space in terms of a community that still, again, we intentionally gathered to tell a story artistic story through art, through performance art.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In a way in which was experiential for people, right? So we stood in that space and then we watched it done on the grandest of stages at its peak level. So there's many reasons to rejoice.
Indeed, indeed. And for both of you brothers who presented your spoken word magic, both B-Dell and Blue Pill, I
Mm-hmm.
want to salute y'all and tell you to continue in that art. Continue, like Kendrick said, um,
Respect the art form.
respect the art form,
Yeah.
right? As an artist, we are all on this panel. We are all artists. Just the words that we speak in our dissertations of information is art. You know what I mean? The way that you put your videos together, B-Dell, and present your information,
Man,
the
your
way
lane.
you put your post together, Al Kibalon, the way you present your information, you know, your aesthetics,
Mm-hmm.
feel me?
Mhm.
Blue with your Law 44, your aesthetics, the way you put your art together.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Um, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but Alexa, bring in the trumpets. You know, it's you know what I mean. It's art in motion. It's poetry in motion. I look forward to having more gatherings. I did say that we should have at least one a quarter. Now that we've all agreed and we've identified that it's something, you know, uncanny about us as a collective, not just as individuals and whatnot. You
you.
know, Voltron was formed that day, the other day.
Yes.
Just people's appearance was the forming of the Voltron. Just the showing up.
Yeah,
Only the teachers.
like yeah, like even I get to see the girl Erin. I get to see you know, I mean,
And
it's always
action.
good to see Q
Yeah.
Reeves, but um what's the bigger brother? What's my guy name?
Oh, Joseph.
Brother
Brother
Yusuf. You know what I
Yosef.
mean? So
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm tripping. I'm like, oh shit, I'm seeing my YouTube, you know, phase, but
My playlist.
I'm
Right.
panning out, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that whole process where you like, yo, this the next generation. They gonna wow the masses and they gonna wake people up and there's gonna be branches that are connected to them that's coming. You know what I mean? Like the shit is just so amazing just to see the level of vitality that we have as a community that's needed
Mm-hmm.
going into what we're going into. So yeah, it was dope, man. It was very much nourishing for the soul,
Yeah.
and just to see the vendors get the love, just to see the outside, everybody ate. You know, people in New Black Wall Street, the vendors that came through. I don't think nobody really had anything to complain about. So it was, yeah, man. It was beyond beautiful, and we
So
need to have it.
We have another one in the summertime or something. Yeah.
one each quarter. So there's four
Yes.
quarters we got.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first quarter, January, February, March. Second quarter, we have another gathering. Third and fourth, right?
Mm.
Only because the next question that I'm going to pose is right in alignment with that, because in the title of today's lecture is Magnetic Minds and Masonic Moves, right?
Right.
So I want to focus on the Masonic moves, right? Not to call us Masons, but we're speaking in coded language, right?
Mm.
And we currently find ourselves in a reality on a timeline where the ones who are moving a certain type of way, right? Case in point, currently in the Black community or currently amongst people like Joy Reid, Don Lemon, Angela Rye, Isaac Hayes III, you know, people who are like Democrats, who may look like us,
Mm.
but they not like us because of the way that they're moving, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's a display of fear mongering. There's a display of people caught with their pants down. There's a display of headless chicken heads, or you know, no pun intended. But there's just a type of chaos in the community now, and it's like people haven't been moving correctly. So now, when they find themselves in this new timeline, they're beginning to panic, right? How would each one of you suggest that the chosen ones begin to move in this current environment that we're in, where we're seeing both a culture war. I've identified the fact that there was a culture war during J. Edgar Hoover's administration as well, right? Where they were focusing on counterculture, and that culture war turned into COINTELPRO, and it got violent. Okay, because J. Edgar Hoover was looking for the Black Messiah. This war on woke and this culture war, ultimately, because it's attached to a crusades, ultimately, when you strip it all away, it's still the hunt for the Black Messiah. It's still a Messianic witch hunt. So I want to ask each one of y'all, how would one move in this new environment that we're in?
You know, I had said last year when we were prepping predictions for this year, I said that the word is gonna have to be spiritual discernment. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? And we cannot account for anybody's lack of discernment. We can't account for anybody's lack of preparation or unwillingness to do the knowledge to a situation before they speak on it. We're in very tricky times. There's so many ruses that are being played, so many traps that are being laid.
Yes.
One has to be, again, spiritually discerning and willing to listen. If they themselves do not, are not savvy enough to move through the matrix in ways in which they feel can be best conducive to their freedom and safety, then they should find at least somebody that they're willing to get directions from. They can direct the traffic for them, because things can potentially get very tricky. There's a dragnet going on, and there's a culture war, and the culture war is dealing with something that is purposely undefined. It's an open-ended argument, and there's a thin line between woke and MAGA, and because it's so undefined, they both come from the culture petri dish of conspiracy, and those conspiracies teeter on, let's say for lack of better term, that as a culture, both of them share the same Bible, right? But so does consciousness, and that would be like to behold a pale horse, for lack of a better term. You know what I'm saying? They both are birthed out of levels of conspiracy, with one level telling them people who they are, and the other level telling us who we may potentially be. And the people who got scared of that information is like, oh nah, we shutting that shit down. We only want the version of the conspiracy that enforces to us the information that we stole from y'all to prop up who we telling ourselves that we are. The lies that we're willing to believe about ourselves is the only lies that we want to hear. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And yeah, so we're shutting down, we're closing out truth. Yeah, we're not in the truth business no more, you know, even though we got Truth Social. Is again, it's a battle for the narrative by any and every means. He who controls the narrative can direct the traffic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so you have to be mindful of what you're listening to and who you're listening to, and you got to develop a relationship with your personal voice, and that comes from spiritual discernment as well. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts? You know what I mean? Unique to you. Do you know how your body signals to you when something ain't right? And you got to move with that shit. You can't necessarily look to the news for it. Where you gonna get it from? X. They've compromised these spaces. You getting boxed in. It's a chess game. So yeah, we got to be mindful.
Yeah, like Blue said, discernment is key. And that's one of the key features that I highlighted back in November. When I dropped the current algorithm, I talked about discernment. And this is why it's important to be pure. This is why it's important to do, a level of healing, internal healing, so that way you can become balanced. Because you got, of course, like a lot of toxic masculine, the scales are imbalanced. A lot of men, in particular, aren't tapped into more of their feminine principle, which deals with feeling, which denotes the ability to be able to gauge and use intuition and emotion in order to navigate. I spoke about this, before in reference to even conscious breathing, becoming aware of your breathing, because that enacts a level of what do you call it? It's a certain term when you bring the blood to the surface of the skin, and I'm losing my train of thought. It's
Hemia.
it's uh I don't remember. I can't remember the term, but basically, it's breathe. It's a bringing blood to the surface of the skin, because blood serves as an antenna for magnetism,
magnetism.
which denotes feeling, which follows symmetry, which follows order, which follows water, so it's the ability to feel and discern. So being able to go through a level of healing and becoming balanced, and not only becoming balanced, but making sure that you're pure at heart, is going to allow you to make rational decisions, and be able to make a sound judgment on something that you're deciding that you need to do, whether you need to relocate here, whether you need to relocate that way. Just like birds, in reference to the magnetic field, they have a what was it called? Uh, chromatin, I think. It's a certain biological concept, or part of themselves, that they have the abilities to
They
be
have,
engaged with magnetic field.
yeah, they got magnetite in their brain,
Magnetite,
Mm.
magnetite.
and the
Yep.
magnetite is able to pick up on magnetic, like you said, fields that are constructed in waves,
Mm-hmm.
and they're able, so when we see them symmetric, they're riding those particular lines, those waves.
Right.
And like you said, just to add on real quick, if we really, really focus on the internal work, right? Our quest here is to heal Chiron, the wounded healer. It's mainly, heart based, focusing on the
Mhm.
heart, because once you heal the heart, then you can deal with the level of coherence
Exactly.
that's
Yep.
necessary for you to amplify your magnetic field or your magnetism.
Mhm.
So your solar body, your magnetic field goes out and meets the solar wind, which is the magnetism coming from the universe. So our downloads are really dealing with us feeling, but our extension of our feeling is dealing with the electrical body as an extended body. With our brother, you got that beautiful poetry. You be naming them shits. I got the dry, worn out, old ass. Yeah, subtle energy body. Like, no, that shit is the Zohar body. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
but now on nigga Zohar body.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
shout out,
but
not shout out. I didn't mean to cut you off, Blue. Shout out to David Heck. Yeah, vasodilation is what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Vasodilation, being able to send blood to the surface of the skin through conscious breathing. We do it all the time when we're, in cahoots or whatever with our mate or whatever, and we're about to participate,
that's right.
sexually. Like men, certain, blood rushes to parts of the body in order to
Hmm.
be able to get engaged with a magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's no different. It's blood, being the antenna for magnetism. So you have the capacity to feel, you see. So, same principle.
Yeah. Well, one thing like you guys been talking about is using your intuition. So you got to use your emotions as a navigation system, because being able to move within this simulation, you got to understand the diametrical differences between those who are trying to push anything that's basically not in alignment with the accurate timeline of those who is producing a certain authenticity on the planet. Meaning that like you being able to move within this timeline, you got to understand that you got certain pawns and figures that's within the infrastructure of politics. So you got to get out of that space of dualism, because the polarity aspect is basically going to keep you submerged into everything that's acclimated to the distraction. So you got to follow the path of the middle way, which is what I call the path of Malakut, to where you're not stuck in polarity, because the polarity in itself is part of the illusion, and the illusion is acclimated to your emotions, and your emotions is connected to everything material. So that's why you got to practice oneness and following the path of the middle way. Don't get so caught up into the entertainment or the politics or whatever. That's all semantics. So that's the best way I say, is just using your emotions to circumnavigate everything that they basically propagating in the news and whatever. So that's the best way to navigate during this time period.
Now that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Next question that I want to ask everybody on the panel has to do with the continuation of what it is that we're speaking of with this war on woke, uh, feigned as a culture war. Um, Recently, they appointed a new FBI director. His name is Kash Patel.
Mm-hmm.
He is from the Patels. He's a Dravidian Indian, and he is said to be the pit bull or the attack dog of a Donald Trump. He is a diehard MAGA, and he also has a sidekick by the name of Dan Bolingo,
Mm.
or it's not Bolingo, it's something else.
Bongino.
Bolagino or something. He's an Italian who's melanated. Both of these men are melanated. And immediately it began to bring back images of J. Edgar Hoover in my mind, right? The minute I saw these people, I said, yeah, these are going to be agents of confusion and chaos. They're definitely not going to be about just because they have melanin in their skin. It doesn't look like they're going to be on the side of the melanated chosen ones.
Right.
And that brought immediately the hunt for the Black Messiah to mind. So I want to know from everybody on the panel, what is your description, or what would be your modern day iteration of what a Black Messiah is in today's society?
Mm.
Yeah, so if we if we look at reality through the prism of the mythology of the quote unquote religion that this particular system is constructed under or underneath. If I say, what's today's date, what is anybody on the panel gonna say? What's today's date, y'all?
February
What is today? What is today's date?
26, 26, February 26,
The whole date.
February 26, 2025.
Right. So just again, that means that we're participating, in the Jesus Christ of narrative, because it's how we navigate. We tell our time,
Mm.
right? Utilizing those metrics. So that within itself is the light code lockdown of how,
Mm-hmm.
we're all tethered to some degree to the participation of it. And that's that, that's not the game ender. We just have to figure out in our own mind, how do you construct a new construct within the construct? So, with that being said, if this coincided with those times, right, you had Pontius Pilate, which was Rome was the dominating force in Jerusalem, which was a separate land, and the Sanhedrin. Again, this is according to the narrative, right? The judges or the people who were part of the Jewish establishment wanted Jesus killed because as the Messiah, they said that it was heresy that he was saying the things that he was saying, because the assignment of any said Messiah was to come against the people who were opposing their people. That's what the Messianic force stands for. So a Messiah would have to be somebody that's anti-establishment. A Messiah would have to be somebody who's against whatever they consider to be corruption or the order, the people that are in control that are not abiding by the commandments or the laws. So in a modern day context, a FBI hunt for a quote unquote black messiah or melanated messiah would be someone who represents leadership, whose narrative or the direction that he's bringing the people is opposite of whatever the system represents. Like, yo, these people is fleecing you. They ain't no good for you. Don't trust them. X, Y, and Z. You know, they would be to us what Donald Trump initially presented himself as a candidate to white America, because he positioned himself as their messiah.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, the bad guys of the establishment. Yo, the bad guys of the deep state. Yo, the bad guys of the system. Yo, the bad guys are the rich guys, right? Yo, the bad guy are the Sanhedrins. So he played the same game, you feel me? And they proselytized him to say, oh, this dude is the second coming. Then he hyped it up. I survived assassination. I'm selling my own Bible. I'm doing this. I'm ordained. The Sanhedrin sent him the letter the other day.
Mm-hmm.
and said that we have full faith that you are divinely sent to get the mission complete. And of course, what is the mission? The mission is to build the third temple. And that propagates and forwards whatever the prophecies are. Because in order for the quote unquote, and again, this is according to their narrative and their system, they say in order for their Messiah to come, they got to build a third temple. But before anybody Messiah come, the Antichrist comes,
Right.
right? And he fits all of the criteria for someone who will pop off or pop up as the Antichrist.
Right.
And he's showing and displaying all of those tendencies by declaring himself king in a republic where this democracy was built on something opposite of that. He's playing in everybody's face, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that to them, a messianic force would look something like Kendrick,
Mm.
someone who has the ability to disrupt, to push back, and to galvanize the masses in a different direction than how the king desires them to be in lock and step in order for governance.
Mm.
And speaking of governance too, I think a big part of it as well is status. You know, we're all considered you know, U.S. citizens.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and we're basically participating in a public. You know, you got a public and a private. And you know, of course, back in the early 1900s, we live in a debt wealth society, so you know there's no money. So you know, of course, back in the early 1900s, they took all the gold away in order to set off the debt in the public as a private. You know, but by default or by nature, we exist in what you call the private as more of a sovereign, living, breathing, you know, being, as opposed to a corporate, you know, fiction, you know. So I think being able to demonstrate a level of business in the United States is using, you know, what we call our straw man or our name in all caps for that specific purpose, but
Hmm.
also acknowledging the private by way of knowing and demonstrating to them by putting them on notice, you know, that we're aware that this is our original territory, and we're also aware that we live in a corporate fiction. So by nature, we have to understand how to set off debt by way of removing ourselves from, you know, the corporate status and putting ourselves back in private as opposed to public. You know, I also believe too, you know, the Black Messiah complex is also a collective concept. You know, we were just talking about doing more gatherings. And I think that's very powerful on a etheric level. Again, speaking about the fact that we still gather even when we remove our physical bodies out of environments that we just resided in, you know. So I think that energy more or less is more prominent as of now because we're moving more, of course, in a an Aquarian, you know, age, when we're dealing with a more aquatic form of an environment. And when I say that, I'm speaking more or less about more of a electrostatic environment, more of a dense medium where, you know, the Dogons personify, you know, the god Nomos as a fish because of the fact that they understood that, you know, when the density of air is at a higher capacity, we have a higher quality and access to information, but we have to begin to acquiesce to it through our physical vessels by not only coming out of certain timelines and certain corporate conditions, but also coming together as well as a collective to be able to embed certain information within these waters that we constantly swim in order to literally take over not only the physical body and the physical environment, but also more or less the etheric environment. So I think not only is a Black Messiah more or less an individual journey by way of, you know, of course, healing, but also, like I said, coming together, and then not only coming together, but also acknowledging the fact that this is our original territory and removing ourselves out of our corporate fiction, but using that corporate fiction as just solely for business and putting them on notice to let them know that we're
Yeah,
aware that we are, you know, original, what we call sovereigns.
like
Mm-hmm.
but B Dell, I definitely want to hear what you have to say. I just want to interject
Mm-hmm.
something quick that our brother shared, and I want to challenge the audience. Hopefully, there's a creator in the audience, and again, just to continue compounding on what we experienced in February and what I call February Black Myth Story Month. because I think our myth story is more important than our history or the mystery, because we can create as we go along. You know what I'm saying? The past and present and the future is all simultaneous. We just need to tell better captivating stories to collapse waves. Imagine if the narrative would totally be about Jesus was a private citizen and he challenged jurisdiction, and the crucifixion couldn't happen because Pontius Pilate and them wasn't able to exert that level of authority over him because he challenged jurisdiction.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As a private citizen. So these are just interesting ways that we can utilize to flip some of these narratives to educate, right? Utilize every opportunity right now to remix for the sake of education, especially since they're destroying, or to their admission, they saying that they want to destroy the Department of Education. So we getting the things that we've been asking for, and we're not ready. We complaining about it, but since we left, you know what I'm saying, the public food system, we like, man, they need to do away with that shit. That shit don't work. You know what I'm saying? I almost sent my child into that. Well, now you got the opportunity, and then with AI, it could even be made, you know, a lot more streamlined, and with all of the people who've lost their gig, they're the teachers. You feel me? Then you got all of that level of talent. You got excessive amounts of talent pool with people that can educate these children now and give them a metaphysical STEAM education, and not only catch them up with their history or the myth story, but also, you know what I mean, make them ready for the world right now with some of these skill sets.
Real quick, I want to veggie back off of what you're talking about, Blue. I want to show the audience that I was proactive in utilizing the current AI tools that are now in the toolbox.
Yes.
I call these tools of creation. These are conjuring tools, right? They're similar to magic wands. It's similar to when we were conjuring in Moorish Spain. You know, it's bringing what is known as ideas into Malkuth, right? It's doing what it's supposed to do. Yes. So, like Blue was saying, I advocate for the dissolution of the Board of Education, because I'm going to show you a video and it's going to prove to you that the Board of Education was doing us more damage than they were helping us, okay? Because they were agreeing to gaslight us as children, right? A sin against all humanity, because they were willingly withholding 90 to 80% of our information, of our true history, our illustrious history, the history that I would say is the most valuable part of history. There's many different parts of our history that is valuable. I'm going to hearken on one aspect of it. Both of you brothers, all three of you brothers in the audience could relate to it, because all of y'all are engineers. You're inventors and you're engineers, and you have that DNA activated that some of us don't, and it's dormant, right? I consider myself an engineer as well. There are hundreds of inventors, right, from our illustrious past that they did not tell us about in school. Even in the schools that we paid tuition for, they willingly held it back from us. The inventions that were invented have a value of today, each one of them. None of them are under 100 million. Some of them are exceeding $900 billion. So I went ahead and I did a slight video. I made about 10 of these, but let's check this out. This to me is the future of teaching.
Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into the remarkable contributions of Black inventors in the USA, post-1800s. From revolutionizing food transportation to transforming medical technology, these brilliant minds have left an indelible mark on society. Get ready to be inspired by their ingenuity, resilience, and unwavering pursuit of progress. Let's get started. Have you ever stopped to think about how the food we eat gets to our grocery stores? It's a modern marvel made possible by innovators like Frederick McKinley Jones. Born in 1893, Jones's early life was marked by hardship, yet he rose to become a self-taught mechanical and electrical engineering genius. In the 1930s, he developed a portable cooling unit for trucks, a revolutionary invention that transformed the transportation of perishable goods. Before Jones's invention, food spoilage during transport was a major problem, leading to food shortages and economic losses. Imagine a world without refrigerated trucks, no fresh produce from distant farms, no ice cream on a hot summer day. Jones's invention not only revolutionized the food industry, but also had profound implications for healthcare, as it made it possible to transport blood and other medical supplies safely and effectively. His contributions earned him over 60 patents, a testament to his remarkable ingenuity. And in 1991, he was posthumously awarded the National Medal of Technology, a fitting tribute to a man who helped shape modern America. Let's talk about another unsung hero of innovation, Otis Boykin. Born in 1920, Boykin's fascination with electronics began at an early age, and he went on to become a prolific inventor, with over 25 patents to his name. Boykin is best known for his groundbreaking work on electrical resistors, tiny components that are essential to regulating the flow of electricity in electronic circuits. His improved resistor designs were more reliable and durable, capable of withstanding extreme temperatures and vibrations. These advancements had a profound impact on a wide range of technologies, from guided missiles and computers to radios and televisions.
I don't want to harken on the whole thing. It's you know, I got about 10 minutes on each one of these videos, and they're giving you remarkable history of inventions that are valued in the billions of dollars, right? We are the we are the ones who are the foundation of industries. Okay, we didn't come along and get hired into, no, we are the foundation of industry. We are the foundational models, right? And I utilize a European's voice because that was the propaganda that they utilized against us, right? Yep. I was gonna have Samuel Jackson saying all of that, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna just I'm gonna have a bland voice, the same voice that hypnotized us, the same voice that lied to us, the same voice that we were programmed to trust. I'm gonna use that same voice to tell our story, because sometimes that's what the children listen to and whatnot. That's what they see as the voice of authority. I'll do the Samuel Jackson version as well, but it's like,
do Denzel. Denzel would be a good one too.
It induced in my mind. I heard Samuel Jackson doing it, and in my mind, he was in front of MAGA and like, sit your bitch ass down. Let me and he was taking away each thing that we invented from society. And these niggas was left in ruin, and they was crying, and he was still, sit your bitch ass down. I ain't finished yet. He was just giving them mad. He was giving them science and dropping, look, you know, you want to take us out of the mix of society? All right, this what you left with, motherfucker. So that's what I heard. So it's bug that you say that.
Yeah, that's definitely another way to flip the script on them, though. That's a good idea.
Yeah, man. We got to get super inventive to state our case. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to hold your ground. Because I'm telling you, it could potentially get real weird. You know what I'm saying? I see the moves that they're making, and people can decide to be sleep all they want. But, you know, they're definitely positioning themselves to say some awkward shit. You see the game he plays. He says provocative, awkward, off the wall shit, and he flips the table. And however this shit lands is how he now sits at the table to renegotiate the shit that he just upended and ruined. You feel me? So he can turn around and fuck around with these people's classifications overnight with a tweet and put everybody in game. So it's like, yo, you really got to be ready for the unexpected. This is Pluto and Aquarius energy. Aquarius is dealing with the Uranus energy, which is expect the unexpected. It's also airplanes, as our brother B. Dell's been pointing out.
Yeah, definitely got to be meticulous to that. But yeah, I didn't really get to touch in on my perception of what the the Messianic figure. Well, as I was stating before, is that human consciousness has the ability to manipulate physical matter. So when you get a convergence of, I guess you could say, that 144,000, we take up on the embodiment of the dodecahedron, which is basically the quintessential alchemical element. All of us becomes an amalgamation of ether that basically reverses the polarity of the atmosphere that we're living in to where it becomes an omnicron based state. So that in itself is going to cause the 0 point energy, the reset within the ethers. So, like you said, the more we amalgamate together when we have these gatherings, that is basically a microcosm of your Messianic figure in one setting. So the same thing is going to actually take place, but on a macrocosmic level. And then also when you look at it from a biblical standpoint or any type of monotheistic religion, they show it in movies that I think the last Avatar, the last Airbender, or whatever, he was basically the embodiment of your so-called Messianic figure, and he didn't want the job. I think it's going to be one of those things where it can be an amalgamation of people, the chosen ones, reversing the polarity, or it can be a certain individual who doesn't know that he or she is the Messianic figure. And I think it's going to be one of those things where they're not going to be able to decipher that because of the energies on the planet right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Also, you ever seen the movie Lucy?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Lucy, because at the end of the movie, like I said, she materialized into dark matter energy. She didn't need a body.
Right.
She broke out of the gematria body. So it also could be one of those things where that it can be an individual so much to the point where it's going to cultivate an energy of balance. So the Messianic figure has to have a principle of balance. That's the only way you can have the reverse the polarity and have the actual reset within the factions of the ethers.
Right. And then too, when we talk about reset again, like we want to make sure that we're not resetting with their game. You know what I mean? Because all they're doing is resetting the script, but it's more modified. So when we're talking about a reset, we more or less want to ascend.
Right.
So we want to climb out of the reset per se. And that's deep, Blue. And when you reference the fact that would Jesus have been crucified if he challenged jurisdiction, that's deep. And also too, with us continuing to accept benefits and privileges, you know what I'm saying, from the government, we already
Right.
fall under their jurisdiction and we consent
Right.
to them. So
right.
with us,
That's like
yeah.
that's like taking that Twinkie on the bed.
Yeah, it's like taking a Twinkie.
That's like
Right.
that's like getting that Twinkie on the bed and be like,
Yeah,
man,
my
I was
experience
hungry.
when I collapsed away when that Matrix September 10th, 2001, and Red was there. I challenged jurisdiction, and I went in there, and they said state your name for the record, and I spelled my name out.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Yeah, that was a tense moment.
and when I spelled my name out, I said capital P, lowercase a. They was like, what are yo, they threw the book at me. They sent they did it all. They did everything they could to stop me
Yeah.
going on record because that paperwork said that as a child, as God Himself, you don't have jurisdiction. You gotta show me X, Y, and Z. Delegation of authority is what I challenge. But by me flipping the script by spelling my name out, I became a live, living entity. And the next day, they destroyed all the birth certificates when they took the towers out. So
Right.
I'm saying that to say we have no idea how powerful we are, especially if we're willing to go, put ourselves back online as not their property, but the true and living. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what they're out here racing against,
Right.
attempting as
Seeing
best
that?
they can to stop.
Right.
That's the shit that got them woke up out of this. They like, oh shit, they done figured it out.
Right. Because they're on script. Like Blue said, he went into the courtroom and he spelled his name out. Those are administrators and not real judges. So they're on script.
Yeah.
They're on script. So when you take them off their script, that's when they get fluttered, and they don't like it. You can,
Red
come
was
in
they
and
fluttered.
Yeah, they were flustered.
Yeah,
Cause
they get
Red was under spell. He just had came home from boot camp, so he was under lock and step, like he was MAGA. So this shit was shocking to his nervous. Nah, dead ass. Like
I had my
on that
red cap
level
on.
of indoctrination, they had something like that. You know what I mean? But when he seen that demonstration, and it's exactly what you saying, Hakeem Alarm, there was, because I had two cases in two counties under two different names. So This wasn't a one-time fluke. I was able to do it in 2 different cases at the same time and see the effects of it. In my first case in Jersey City, I recused the judge, right? Cut his head off, or magistrate for that matter, and they did a 6 month recess to the next date because they had to send the other dude to get the script. They had to send him to school
Mm-hmm.
to learn the script.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent the woman at me on the next one, and she was a melanated woman from me. She kept saying, "I'm the mother," like she was an Easter star. She kept throwing signs and signals like, "I'm the mother. You beating up on me?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah,
"Nah, yeah, they
but
put you there to get your head plucked off. That's all."
right.
Right.
Right. And see, that's how we got to start moving. We're talking about moving in step with alignment because dealing with the courts, it's really like boxing. You can't go in there like swinging and throwing haymakers. It's very strategic. So
Super
even if you
giant.
say,
Yeah,
right, right, they'll,
Super
some-
giant.
they'll ask you, they'll ask you to state your name for the record. You say it, they got you. You've consented.
yeah, it's a right.
They'll
You
ask
gotta
you,
have Mayweather shoulders, or
right,
like
right,
Duke,
right.
or
Established
like Duke could be
jurisdiction.
ducking under
Like,
them.
Billy Shell.
no, I'm just saying we need to speak
Yeah,
on this because as much as time has elapsed from that period and from when we seen Moors in court in about '04, '05, there hasn't been a lot of instructional information in this domain to show people how to properly navigate. Um, and these are the things that they're gonna really have to know, especially dealing with this new admin because they're playing like you said in public and private. They're playing in democracy in the republic. They're playing, American citizen, which tight, like they said in that movie Civil War. They playing in them spaces. So you really have to understand the dynamic of who you are, where you exist, where you think exist
mm,
and where you're trying to get to go. You know what I'm saying? And then that will determine for you how you gonna move and navigate through the matrix. And whether this will be super beneficial for your development, because I refuse to look at us as victims or that we down bad. You know what I'm saying? I think that we're at the very front of when they motherfucker open the gates and you got the ability to move, you just gotta know where you're moving to. You gotta have
exactly.
focus the direction, where we headed as a people, where's our promised land.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can get to building, we can start right now and ignore all of the noise. But if we want to get up caught up with the noise, there's gonna be a nonstop supply of that.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly.
And
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 like
that's another way we can't really get caught up into the paper genocide aspect of it as well, because especially during this time period when you having a lot of creators starting to come up, whether if you're an artist or you rap or whatever, you know you got to put there's a thing that they put you under the jurisdiction under the act of parliament. You can't when they say that you want you to sign a contract of you being an artist or be an actor or whatever, just cross it out, put creator, because that gives you autonomous energy over your creativity to where they're not able to monetize off your creativity. That's another way to look at it. So don't get really caught up into the paper genocide and the semantics of the terminology when they putting this stuff in paperwork format. That's just for those who's really trying to create and stuff like that. And so I had to throw
like
that.
yeah, like you said, be there like the balance. You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, like the signature is the value. That's the credit that you use to set off the debt. Like as long as they got your signature, they got proof that you're gonna work for them.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's about a balance, and then with a balance, it's about being, of course, spiritual, being metaphysical, but like Blue said, understanding, knowing where we're at. You know what I'm saying? We're still spiritual, but by default, we're in the matrix. So there's a certain way we got to maneuver to be completely free. You know what I mean? We can spit, a lot of metaphysical shit like we do, and we do it so effortlessly. You know what I'm saying? But also too, when we qualify ourselves to be bringing in income, that's again, we're consenting, and income is an entire definition to what we think income is, which actually is profit. So, if you work a job, you're actually making a wage. It's not an income. So, it's just certain things, that I've learned for the past several years in maneuvering in this third dimensional matrix, that you really have to be very strategic and calculated, because you know, like Red said, you know, they'll set the Twinkie out on the bed, unbeknownst to you, when you grab it and you eat it, you just again consented to the corporate fiction of who they identify you as, you
Mhm.
know, in order to solidify their debt, you know. But we're talking about accountability, you know, so accountability in the physical realm and accountability in the spiritual realm. So when we hold accountability for ourselves, you know, and things that we've done, we set our own or set off our own karmic debt in reference to what we've uh have accomplished through our, you know, everyday affairs. So, you know, yeah, I just like B Dale said, and like we all just reference, is about a level of balance between
Mhm.
both spiritual and physical.
Yep,
Mm,
720. It's the 720.
Hmm.
indeed, indeed. Real quick, B Dell, for the audience who are here who may not have heard you before, can you give us some insight as to the warning that you gave about flying and
Okay.
planes,
Uh,
aviation, and whatnot?
well, I know during this time period, I was telling people you got to be very meticulous of the numerology as far as like the number 19, because that basically represents Alpha and Omega. And I remember that Donald Trump, he signed the Second Declaration of Independence, which made him the 19th president of the Republic. So he is basically the apprentice of the Royal Ark, and the Royal Ark is basically acclimated to the sigil system of the two pillars of Jack and Boaz. So that's basically denoting the fact that we're going through the Golden Gate. So when you're going through the Golden Gate, these solar transmissions that's hitting the planet is causing ionization particles that bends the photon-like spectrum, which causes acceleration drag in our atmosphere to where these planes can be manipulated. Now you having a engineered reset, and then you having a reset is happening by way of everything as far as like the reversing of polarity of everything in our system. So you got to be very meticulous of the symbols and the sigil system as far as like when we get on these flights and what certain numbers add up to and what day of the week it is. You got to be very meticulous of that. So because like I said, you have there's a movie that I recommend everybody to watch. It's called Cabin in the Woods, and there's another movie. It's kind of like the same thing, but they need a sacrifice. So
Right,
within the factions of this world and this simulation, they need a sacrifice to basically give them the propensity to prolong the sleep spell of everything that's connected to the third dimension. So, like I said, you know, as we go into the apex of solar cycle 25, the transmission of the sun is going to get a lot more intense, and it's going to manipulate these flights. So that, like I said, these neutrinos that's coming in, it's not a coincidence that it's basically, you know, making things shake up within our atmosphere. And then you got, you know, the sedimentary rock formations, they're starting to basically break up because the tectonic plates is starting to shift. We just had a
mm,
sinkhole in my city yesterday. A sinkhole popped up because where I'm at is we're basically on the demarcation line between southern Illinois and southern Indiana, where they have the new Madrid fault line. So these
right,
transmissions from the sun is not only manipulating the atmosphere, it's manipulating the Earth's crust. Because one thing you got to understand about the ionized particles that produces neutrinos, when it connects to the planet, it basically speeds up the vibration of the dynamos that's connected to the plasma energy of the planet, which is the iron. So iron, when you take iron as far as like a vitamin or a supplement, it gives you energy. The same thing is actually happening to the planet. The planet is speeding up in vibration.
right.
That's why we got to be very meticulous of getting on these flights, because the manipulation from the ionized particles is going to manipulate the cosmic energy grid that controls all technological devices and is tether connected to the firmament. So that's my, you know, my take on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Beautiful, beautiful.
Mhm.
Blue, you were adding on?
Hmm?
Were you saying something?
Oh no, I was agreeing.
Okay.
Okay.
I was agreeing.
And yeah, the next topic I want to highlight and I want to speak on, Blue touched on it, and it deals with the Pope,
Mm,
uh, who, aka Papa, the Holy Pontiff.
yeah.
Rumor has it that he may have already made his transition, and they are actually rehearsing for his funeral as we speak. and it's been said that he's in critical condition with 2 failed lungs and whatnot. What are the implications of this timeline where they may usher in a new pope? We know that there's more than one pope, but with this current one on his way out, what do you see on the horizon with the new pope?
Oh, you asking me?
Yes.
And they have 2 prophecies. They have the prophecies of Peter the Roman that was told by one prophet. The Nostradamus also made a prophecy about the last pope, and it coincided with Peter the Roman. So his name is well, is he a Pietro? Well, I think the person, the Saint Francis Assisi, whoever he's named after, might be named Peter or Pietro, but it coincides with him being Peter the Roman. So the prophecy is on point, and they're saying that his transition will pretty much lead to the absolution of the church and the destruction of the Vatican City. And again, it's all tied up to these end time prophecies that deal with the third temple. And coincidingly, again, the San Franciscan Pope represents the aspects of the Golden Gate. Golden Gate physically is represented by the Temple Dome, because the 2 things that evangelical Christians have in common with the Zionists is both of them have to access the Golden Gate. For the Messiahs both of their Messiahs pass through the Golden Gate of the Temple Zone, which is the east side of it, which is walled off right now. So the Muslims that have possession of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is part of the complex that the third temple has to be built on, to smite the prophecy, they built the cemetery in between Mount Olive and the Golden Gate, and then they sealed the Golden Gate off. So the unsealing of the portals that they ceremoniously did at the end of last year, first they did it with Notre Dame in the beginning of December, right? Remember, Trump went there as an official representative of the country before he was even in power. They opened that gate, and then the Pope opened the 5 other gates, right? And this was all symbolic of them opening ultimately the Golden Gate, right? This is the gate that Jesus allegedly passed through when he was on the donkey, when he went into the temple and overturned the tables of the money changers. So this is the gate that's in play, but it also coincides with the Golden Gate, which is the Golden Gate Bridge, or the Golden State, which is California, but it also coincides with the cosmic Golden Gate, as you've been speaking on. There's a silver gate and there's a golden gate, right? The Golden Gate is where the souls come through. The silver gate is where they leave out of, right?
And then February 28th is the silver key, that alignment. That February 28th alignment is the embodiment of the silver key. That's the silver gate. Because if you notice those 2 keys that you see, they was on top of every doorway of the portals that he was opening up.
Oh, absolutely.
They had the golden key and the silver key.
Right.
The first planetary alignment we had on January 21st, that was the Golden Gate. And then the silver key is basically the end of the Piscean Age of Darkness in totality, because the Pope represents monotheism as far as like the Vatican. And then you had the Queen that died. They took the seal off Buckingham Palace. And then all we got left right now is the military. But the military is not owned by DC right now, because Donald Trump, he still has qualified immunity. So that means that FEMA took over the military. So all 3 aspects that control the 3 the 3 energies that control like this whole system in itself is basically falling, especially once the Pope dies. Even though he's been dead, I think, for many years. But
right. So, and again, the Golden Gate connections and correlations, they're very much in play at this particular time, and that also speaks to the Jubilee. They had to cancel all of the Jubilee periods this year. In 2020, I was hitting on the Jubilee real heavy because that coincided with the 400-year period of quote unquote mythological or symbolic slavery that the children of Canaan supposed to have been in a foreign land. That's why critical race theory became such an issue for the evangelicals, because they were invoking 1619, 1619, right? And again, all of this is coinciding. The Jubilee deals with the children of Canaanite, or the Canaan, the children of Canaan. And of course, we know that Canaan is Gaza. Hence the fact that Trump is on his high horse speaking about what they're going to do to Gaza. You know, that's dog whistles about what they're willing to do to the Canaanites, and not just the symbolic people that they're destroying with bombs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is very interesting how those time shifts are shifting. COVID shifted it in 2020, and now this year we're seeing that the Pope is going to have the possibility of shifting this concept of what this Jubilee time period represents. And the Jubilee means the ram horn. So I found it very interesting, once again, that Radiohead Rich will usurp that energy with the ram horn for the calling of the Nine Ether God Fest. You know what I'm saying? We already in our Jubilee. You
Mm.
feel me? You know, the masters have already gathered, and like Kibalan said, that dance, that ethereal entanglement, you know what I'm saying? That dance is still coincidingly happening. So everything that we're experiencing on the individual level, the collective is experiencing. And as a
Right.
collective, when we come together, we amplify it as mad mutants under one roof.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I would
Yeah.
and I would say too, to gauge the Golden Gate as well, because of course we're talking about on a celestial level, we're talking about the space in between Sagittarius and Scorpio,
Hmm.
the gate of the gods, you know, where they say Ophiuchus lies,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which coincides also with the galactic center, you
Yep.
know. So, you know, when you pull up articles and you look at some of the things that these scientists are talking about in reference to the black hole, you know, there's a lot of activity that's going on as of right now,
Right.
you know, so that's evidence of, you know, a portal, you know, being open. And see, when you move in balance, like we've been talking about the entire show, in a move in court in accordance with you know, this celestial alignment, that's a good opportunity to again use like scientific articles as almost like a meteorologist trying to gauge the weather, so that way when you do see activity going on at the galactic center, you know that the Golden Gate is highly involved, because that's the pathway to you know, the Golden Gate. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when we're talking about, of course, the Silver Gate, we're talking about the space in between Taurus and Sagittarius, or Taurus and Gemini, you know. So again, it's all, you know, a celestial activity that's going on. And like B-Dell highlighted, you know, all the portals that the Pope had opened up, they had that Silver Gate and that you know, Golden Gate, or silver key and golden key above it. So it's all celestial. You know, me, you know, Blue, you and I, and Blue highlighted this a while ago, way before I even spoke on it, was, you know, Biggie being the galactic center, you know, which that's a tale in and of itself that we'll eventually dive into. But with that said, and Biggie's mother making transition, you know, it's evident that there's a lot of activity at the Golden Gate. So this is
Oh
our
yeah,
time.
you showed it like the day before she
Yeah,
transitioned. They said that the Galactic Center was dancing.
there was a cosmic party, the
Yeah.
fireworks. Yeah, yeah, all
I
of
be
it.
saying some outlandish shit, but I be goddamn if it don't be landing.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
So
Big, man, he the galactic center. He's the black hole. You
Yep.
know, and yeah, man, we have to see ourselves as that magnanimous. You know what I'm saying? And we're even more magnanimous than that. You know, that's localizing our powers,
Mm-hmm.
our impact. And if we're not willing to do that for one another, then what's the use of it? You know what I'm saying? I ain't come here to be a PR.
Facts.
mhm,
You know,
mhm.
And then Ophiuchus is a representation of Jesus walking on water also. That is basically like the sigil system behind it too. The black
Yeah,
sun.
Yeah.
My born day is November 30th, so we're dealing with the 13th symbol of Ophiuchus. Mine falls right in Ophiuchus.
Oh wow.
So technically, if we're going with the 13th sign, I would be Ophiuchus because we're going from November 30th, I believe, or November 29th to I think December 17th.
Mm,
So I fall right in alignment there, and just being last year in Brooklyn, the best I specifically, and I was sun gazing,
Yeah,
sitting on Biggie's stoop.
yeah.
Uh,
You went to the stoop.
went to the stoop. Man, it was a crazy, crazy, crazy energy, and you could feel it. But it's funny just how the matrix works because there was a lot of distractions, around me, in that environment.
Yeah,
Ironically enough, like they were doing something inside of Biggie's spot. I guess they were like, because people were going in and out with ladders and shit, so there was construction being done.
right.
And I'm trying to do a photo drop and everything and do a video, and it's just a lot of distractions that are going on to try to get me from tapping into that energy. But we got through it, and I just seen just being in that space. It's just it's a very powerful energy, and
It's a real energy,
it's a
man.
real energy. It's a real energy. But of course you've seen how gentrified it is. I was struck about how Brooklyn just is not even they got the cafes on the corner and they got the massage parlors there. I said they got
Yeah,
hood niggas walking down the street next to,
It's a blended,
Europeans
yeah,
walking their dog.
yeah.
Look,
It's
it's crazy. It's just a
blended.
different type of
Clinton Hill was the ground zero for that blending and that meshing taking place, and it don't look too much different than how it kind of looked. Well, Fulton Avenue between where he was at, it was it had its thing with it,
yeah.
but
But yeah, just being out there and even seeing like Brooklyn downtown, I was just blown away by how expansive it's gotten. It's just a whole new
yeah,
environment. But
hold on.
yeah, yeah. But Biggie spot definitely, I felt that galactic center energy, and it just it played out like Blue said. He made a prominent prophecy years and years ago talking about Biggie being a black hole. So
mm,
that stands the test of time to this day.
Yeah, man. Sagittarius A, Galactic Center.
Hmm.
mm.
Yeah, yes indeed, yes indeed. So I did a poll on my channel the other day after our first episode. So much feedback that we were receiving. People were very excited about the combination of everybody coming together, and I asked them if they wanted to see that more, and they resoundingly said yes. That's why we're here today with this part two, and I definitely want to thank everybody for delivering because it's giving what it's supposed to give. Somebody just currently asked what's going to be happening in March, and if do we have any words of advice and whatnot. And I want to add to that. We do have words of advice, and what we're going to do is we're going to proactively put together an event in March, you know, outside of the YouTube, maybe on Zoom and whatnot, outside of what the parameters of the algorithm that's very restrictive and very censor heavy, right? So we don't want to we don't want to have to put on any muzzles when we talk when we got to talk. We
Right.
like to speak in private places where it's presumed to be safe and uncensored, and Zoom is one of those places. So for March Madness, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be coming together on the 22nd, which is a Saturday, all right, a Saturday at 8 o'clock on Zoom, and we're going to be doing a new installment of Fear of a Black and More Messiah,
Mm.
and it's going to feature Al Kibalon 44, B Del 1014, and hopefully Blue Pillar 44 as well. But we do want y'all support because the support is going to go a long way. I don't have these brothers coming outside, you know, on their own, you know, on a handshake and whatnot. I want to take care of everyone. We want to be able to take good the time and the energy and the research and the deep dive and all of and the promotions, all of that is going to be compensated. So this is going to be a legendary, and I'm into making classics. So this is going to be a classic. We're going to approach this title and this quote unquote topic with a scientific scope. You know what I mean? It's going to be collegiate and it is going to be top heavy. All right. So that's going to be on, I'm going to drop the link in the chat right now. Boom. That will be on the 22nd of March, which is a Saturday, on Zoom only. Yes, 322. Me and Blue Pill is familiar with that date. That is 322 Blueprint. That's one of the classics that we put out all the way in 2009 with A.A. Rashid and Noble Ampu. And yeah, so we're gonna put this one in the record books as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you picked that. 322. That's that Skull and Bones. So that's during the time of the day when they do their incantation. So
Yes,
it's time to do our. It's time to do our own alchemy.
it's time to do ours. You feel me?
Beat on that drum.
Huh?
I said we're gonna beat on that drum.
Oh yeah, we're gonna beat on that drum. The build up to it is gonna be beautiful. The build up to it is going to be it's gonna be magnanimous, and I look forward to it.
Right. They're gonna feed into our promotion. They're gonna do promotion for us.
Yes.
You're going to see how, right, once we put our minds together, how these people can actually work for you. And, we can stop working for them in terms of reactionary reporting and things of that nature.
Right.
Think that it's within our powers to control the narrative and write a new script in real time in front of the world. Be that daring and bold to be like, don't believe me, just watch.
Mm-hmm.
This is our season. You feel me?
For
Ain't
sure.
nobody running with that title.
For sure. So yeah, man. That's what we're gonna be doing. We're putting it into the universe. We will return before that date to deliver y'all with some new updates as the world turns. And as the just as the great divine speaks through signs and continues to open up these doors for us and continues to verify and certify not only what we're saying, but what the master teachers laid out and the shoulders that we're standing on. You know what I'm talking about? Because we walk in the shadows of some giants, So I say to all of them, the alignment that's coming up in 2 days, ladies and gentlemen. I highly encourage, especially for my creators out there. I want to end it on this note. For each one of y'all, we are all identified as creators, visionaries, and artists and whatnot. For the creator that's in the audience who one day wants to get on the big stage or one day wants to, just yield their sword and rather it could be in a room with themselves or it could be in an arena with thousands. Could we get a word of advice, right, from each one of the gods in the building tonight to the creator out there, to the visionary, to the person who wants to escape from poverty-minded consciousness, right, by actually creating something? I said it yesterday that I was able to pull myself out of poverty through my imagination. It all was in my mind first. My mind broke the chains. So what's a word of advice that you would give somebody out there who wants to tap into this mutant power that they have, this dormant power, and break the chains and just assert themselves?
Authenticity is key, and everything that you want is on the other side of fear. So you got to get out of the aspect of fear in order to tap into the energy, because the fear in itself is an encryption over the body and the mind. So when you unlock those parts of yourself, that's when you're able to tap into your energy of creativity and tap into your purpose.
Fire. Real quick story time. The day of the Rich event, right? The day of the 9 Ether God Fest, when you came on stage, B-Dell, and did your thing, and Blue got on stage and did his thing, and then KT got up there, and I was like, damn, this is a heavy lineup to follow up on.
Right.
I want to make sure my thing is together. And I was in the room talking to Rich, trying to get my little pep talk on, right? So we were talking about butterflies in the stomach, and it came to me as a download right there where spirit was like, look, butterflies in the stomach is a chemical reaction that you're basically making history. You don't make history every single day by sitting in your office and just being regular, right? Being Peter Parker. But when you become Spider-Man or when Clark Kent turns into Superman, the butterfly effect is similar to a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. It is a chemical reaction that you're feeling in your stomach because you're literally stepping out of time and doing something that will imprint you as an immortal, as a legend, because that stage performance could basically make you Grammy nominated. That
Mm-hmm.
stage performance will imprint on the imagination of somebody in the audience who will remember you forever. They might have walked by you when you were not on stage and you were just in your regular state. You were in Peter Parker mode. You didn't imprint upon them, the way where they could be like, I see a legend in the making. Like I see you on stage. I see something on you that you might not see, right? And that aspect of the butterflies is a telltale sign. It's actually something that we should look forward to because it's telling us that we're stepping out of this role, this what they call, what's that? Groundhog Day, right? Because Groundhog Day is the loop that we keep going through that's basically kind of restricting us and stopping us from being great because we're doing things that are basically mundane. We're not we're not facing the fear and whatnot. Like you said, on the other side of fear is what you're looking for. So that butterfly in the stomach aspect is a telltale sign that you are about to do something great. You're stepping into your greatness. So that's why people say, yeah, well, I got on stage and the minute I start rapping, that shit went away and I was in my bag. Yeah, because you didn't cower, you didn't run. You feel me? You went forward. So yeah. I'll keep it on and in blue.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, metamorphosis, a state of transformation. You know, when you feel those butterflies and you get nervous, that's a perfect analogy how you put it, Red, with the caterpillar and the butterflies in the stomach. The chemical effect of that, it is an effect of transformation. It's metamorphosis because when you do have that feeling, it's a level of nervousness, it's fear, it's excitement, it's every emotion that you can feel all at once, which initiates a level of implosion. So then when you get on that stage, you almost go in a form of a trance. This is why a lot of people, when they perform in front of 20, 30, 40,000 people, when they get off stage, a lot of times they don't even remember a
Yeah.
lot of the experience because they're in a state of a trance. It's all of those emotions coming together all at one time, which is a very unique experience. It's almost like an out of body experience to a certain extent. So you get in that flow state, and that nervousness goes away because you embody a certain archetypal energy, by way of tapping into a higher version of yourself, quite literally. You know what I'm saying? So it gives us the ability to know that not only do we have guides outside of us and ancestors who are aiding us in those, nerve-wracking experiences, but we have the capacity to tap into more of a unseen reality by way of engaging in a level of nervousness or challenge, that we may not even want to face. But that's what's going to get us over to the next levels, like Bdell said, facing our fears and getting over to the other side, and developing a level of courage, because again, fear of death is basically our highest state of fear. But if we can begin to challenge ourselves in a multitude of different ways, really feel those butterflies and embrace them, just know that you're getting ready to go through a state of a transformation. So yeah, challenge yourself.
Oh,
Yeah, I echo everything that's being said here. You got to break through the mold, right? Same thing Brother B. Dell said. Your threshold, you have to be willing. You got to prepare yourself to be willing to go beyond the threshold. Everything that you're looking for is on the other side of your comfort zone. So you got to be willing to get a little bit discomforted, but it's a whole process of trust and faith. Faith is a concept that gets beat up on in the community. Faith and belief get beat up on, but they are terms that existed before religious doctrine. They're foundational, and before you know something, you got to believe it. You know what I'm saying? And before something materializes, you have to have an inkling of quote unquote belief, which translate as faith that it will, because that's you. You know what I'm saying? Having enough willingness to trust in yourself to make things possible that seem to be impossible or to seem to be a challenge. This is you getting to know you a little bit more, where you can confide in you to say, I trust you that if you're saying that this is where we need to go, I'm willing to follow your lead. You know what I'm saying? You haven't steered me wrong. And when you have, these things have normally shown up as clear indications that we're heading in the wrong direction. Again, you're and I mean, I don't know, I can't say again because my relationship has always been like with an external internal fusion. You know, my mind and my body have not always been one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my mind is very mindful that my body has a mind of its own. And the relationship has been with my mind gaining the trust over my body for the body to relinquish the controls of doubt that it has with this foreigner called the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an entity in the middle of all of that shit, watching and managing and you know what I'm saying, taking notes.
Mm.
And then you have to fuse all of those relationships. You have to be a tripartite individual, three into one, as they say in masonry. You know what I'm saying? But there's an aspect of, again, in between all of that, there's a level of faith that transcends what we're speaking about when it comes to indoctrinated religion that you have to have when you're willing to take those chances and you're not 100% certain about the outcome. You
Right.
have to find that trust in yourself
Mm.
to be like, yo, you know what I mean? Shit, I got more to lose by not trying or attempting, should I say, right? By not attempting, by not trusting in myself, by not rolling the dice. I have more to lose by not attempting than I do of failing. And if we quote unquote take the sting out of failing and explain the concept of failing forward, you know, failure is something that we look down upon because in our society, in our community, it could easily mean death. And I
Mm.
don't think that other people share in that fatality, that finalism.
Finish
Like,
him.
nigga, you got one shot.
Right.
You made it up here. Yeah, you got one shot. Then we taking shots. So it might feel a little different for us. we,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? We got to flirt with death just to get simple things done in life. But yeah, man, trusting yourself, man, have a relationship and a knowing with the things that you're capable of. That you really see yourself as that one. You really see yourself as the chosen one, as Brother B. Dell speaks on.
Mm-hmm.
That you convince yourself that you're part and parcel to the 144,000. And you just gotta overly convince yourself of that. Then you're gonna create a magnetic frequency that's gonna ripple and
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna magnetize the things that coincide with how you see yourself. And then people are gonna start seeing you how you see yourself.
Mm.
And the things that you want to get done will get done that much more easier because again, you have built a bridge into somebody else's trust.
Mm.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's going from a cube to a tesseract. Transformation.
that part. Yes.
Yes, yes. Man, oh man. I wish we could go on all night, brothers. Um, Real quick, leave everybody with the way that they could get in touch with each one of you good brothers, in case there's somebody out there that wants to reach out.
Yeah.
You can contact me at BDL1014 on Instagram, BDL1014 on YouTube as well, Bright Out Rice Bay on Facebook.
Yes.
Contact me, Alkebulan. My ad name is right there at Alkebulan_44 on IG.
Yes. At Blue Pillar 44 on IG, Blue Pillar 44 at Gmail. You need to shoot me any files, informations, or things of that nature. ConnectToYourCity.com. KTL Plus is streaming on Roku, Apple, Fire Stick, and anywhere the streaming services stream from. You can catch some of these archive episodes, and we got new stuff on the way. Me and Ray got a podcast called Blurred Lines. This finna drop a few episodes on y'all.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And you could catch me on IG at Phil_Moreland. That is Phil_Moreland on IG and on YouTube. Know the Ledger 444. 444. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you. And you could also support the channel at buymeacoffee.com/knowtheledger444. I want to say shout out to all of the super chats. Shout out to everybody in the building, the chat, the KT aliens. Thank y'all for y'all engagement. It was beautiful. The questions that y'all asked. We probably will come back and do a Q&A show before the 22nd, but put it on your calendar. 3/22 is a date that we are going to form Voltron and come together and deliver a bona fide certified classic. If this was any indication, think about a slideshow, think about visuals, think about a PD, you know what I mean? Think about each one of us coming with our A game and putting up Kobe Pointer 80 point, putting up Kobe points in this thing. Yeah, peekaboo.
Luka and LeBron.
You know what I'm talking about? Luka and LeBron up in the thing. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, no Bronny. You know what I mean? No Bronny. So with that being said, we out of here, y'all. We will see y'all soon. Peace.
Peace.
Red, blue, purple light, friends. Red, blue, purple light, friends. Facts. Red, blue, purple light, friends. Red and blue, purple light, friends. Facts. Get to know the ledger, sacrilegious Sunday to melanin Monday. You can get to know the ledger, my love. Just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, the clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road. You better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I opened my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we're stacking up these C notes. Facts, facts, yeah. We gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Facts, facts. Peace, love and light. Peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light to the family. Peace, love and light to the family.
These days and time, black man, is going to be the time that you have been waiting for. You came here for a reason. Whatever pressure, whatever adversity, whatever the fuck you feel, I don't know what you feel, but whatever you may be feeling is going to push you, and it's going to provoke you, and it's either going to make you or break you, similar to how pressure busts pipes or the shit makes diamonds.